pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
All right. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties. So welcome back to another Beta Alpha Psi meeting. Hope everyone had a great week off. Today we have Mario Lemos here from the IIA, the Institute of Internal Auditors, to come and speak to us today. Again, members, candidates, please stay behind after for announcements and regarding e-board election coming up in a couple of weeks. Again, please, if you're on Zoom, please turn your cameras on if possible. Again, if you're a floor, please make sure you pay attention. Let's ask a lot of questions, make this meeting very engaged as we always do. And Mario, I'll let you take it away from here.
Very good. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Hello in Farm Park. And anywhere else, or just Farm Park? Yeah. Thanks for the intro. Just a quick correction. You asked earlier whether those that are planning to graduate do something. I trust everyone's planning to graduate.
Yes.
I hope that was understood.
Yeah.
Again, my name is Mario Lemos. I'm a volunteer with the Institute of Internal Auditors. I'm actually one of the many folks on their board. So we have many chapters throughout the, I'll get into the details in the presentation. But I am currently, I like to tell my wife, semi-retired for now a couple of months. And so I have a lot more time, and I would like to do these type of engagement, speak to the students of various schools through that chapter, and also not only the IIA, which is the main chapter I'm representing today, but also the New Jersey Society of CPAs. Volunteer for them. I have some information and scholarship information and all sorts of goodies for you guys as well from them. So I volunteer with them as well. And so it's a way to, again, get engaged, get back to the roots, see what the profession is. And so I'm happy to give back. So with that, I believe they can see the screen. Is that?
Yes, they can.
I don't know how to control it, but it's not on my screen anymore. Jack, so maybe.
Oh, is it there? You should be able to see. Yeah, everyone see your screen.
Right there.
There.
That.
That's why you have to go to this presentation. Here. No, that's part of, yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, okay, so it's covering that. Okay. That anymore, right? Sorry about that. Okay, so. There we go. There. Okay, thank you. Hey, very good. Very good. So, as I was saying, again, introducing myself here, I have these, learned to do this recently, QR codes, and for you young folks, this is what you do every day. So there'll be a lot of QR codes, scan those. So that's just my LinkedIn information. As I'll talk about, just I will give you some color. It's all about networking. And so there's no other better way to connect with the profession, folks that you're trying, especially as you're looking towards getting jobs and those type of things. Make sure you're connected on LinkedIn. I actually looked at FDU on LinkedIn, and there's 78,000 alumni, and you should try to link in with all those. Especially, you could filter. You can see who's an accounting major. You can see what firms they're working on. I didn't have that when I was your age. I can trust me when I say that. So again, this is a huge resource for you. As you can see, I have over 30 years of experience. I'm currently have a consulting firm. But prior to that, I was a chief auditor executive at a mid-sized bank in New York City, $12 billion bank, commercial bank. Was there for 13 years, and the last 7 years as chief auditor. And so I highlighted in green, again, just this will come into play later, CPA and CIA. So I'm both, and I'll talk about what the difference is between the two and then the different career tracks. Okay. And again, as Jack said, ask questions, stop me along the way. This is meant to be interactive. I have some goodies. For those that are not here, unfortunately, you're going to miss out. Goodies for you if you answer questions right. So a quick agenda, because I know you guys like to see agendas. Again, introduction of the careers in internal auditing. I'm going to give you some examples, what we do, or what auditors typically do in the profession. There's an important, a couple of networking events. Again, these are free for students, and I'll get into that. And then some of the associations, again, free membership for students, there'll be QR codes for you to sign into those. That's kind of your door to a lot of networking. So, all right, first question and first opportunity to get a gift card for Dunkin'. Sorry, no Starbucks. I'm not a Starbucks fan. Hopefully I don't offend you. Who wants to tell me what they think internal audit is and how it's different from accounting in a typical accounting firm, which is what is generally the more common definition? Anyone want to do a stab?
Internal auditing is more of a management function. It's preparing for, you said external or internal?
Internal and external.
Okay, internal is like a manager or the CFO or the controller. For a regular business, it could be like FedEx, UPS, corporate, anything. And what they do is that they prepare the financial statements so that when the independent auditor, which is external, when like the accounting firms like Deloitte or PricewaterhouseCoopers, when they come in, everything is already like basically prepared for them.
That's, you said some things that are spot on, some things that are actually external. So that was a good answer. Anyone else want to give an attempt?
Definitely know the answer. That's why
I
try not to say
definitely,
it.
so I'm going into audit. Isn't it basically a service designed, to improve the organization's operations, like looking at, going through papers and looking at the risks that they haven't fallen in compliance?
So, because I have extras. I'll take one each.
Coffee,
So if you can read on, obviously.
In internal auditing, I can assure you, when I was contemplating what career path I was taking, I had no idea what internal auditing was either. No idea. I knew external auditing. The big 8 or 10 or 12 at the time, where they would come to the campus, do those interviews and internships and those type of things. There was no discussion about internal auditing. It really wasn't a big thing back then. It is a lot more now, but internal auditing is really, they're not management, actually. They work for the board as a chief auditor. That's what I did for most of my career. They're independent of actually management of the organization. Depending on the industry, there's certain laws that require that. But generally, as a profession, internal auditing is an independent function. And they really serve the board and senior management. And they focus on internal controls. They focus on risk management. They focus on ensuring efficiency of operations, those type of things. And I'm not going to read all of that for you, but which is, again, to me, that's really what drove me to internal audit for my career, because internal audit within an organization, and it could be a Fortune 500, it could be a firm that's much smaller, a company much smaller than that. What drove me to that was just the variety of things you'll do. Think of a large company. Every large company has a myriad of departments and functions that need to be done and exist for a certain purpose. Internal auditors in that organization, they have the obligation and the right, if you will, to audit every one of those functions. So if you're early in your career and you're not certain if you want to be in the accounting department, in the marketing department, the IT department, or any other department in that organization, as an auditor for the first 2-3 years, you're almost getting a rotational program, if you will, because you're going to be auditing those departments. Typically, an internal audit lasts a month, 3 months. And so within a 2-year cycle, you most likely get to see and experience the entire corporation from the inside out. And then you can decide. You can get into the department and say, yeah, this is not what I thought and not exciting to me. And you can get and experience a department that really resonates with you and you're excited to pursue a career in that department. So that's actually happened to me in my career. I went in and became assistant controller. It became a function similar to what I said. Did that for about a year and realized that is not what I want to do the rest of my life. But that's okay. If you get that opportunity. I went back to auditing and I chose to do that career track. And it serves you well in the tri-state area. There's a huge demand. In fact, that's, I'm sure you guys know, there's a massive shortage of accountants in the industry. The IIA, the New Jersey Society of CPA, they have at the national level significant efforts to bolster student attendance in accounting programs, right? So it's a high demand position or industry need, right? And there's a lot of focus on it. So again, as I said, financial auditing, more of the external is what you're probably more acclimated to or heard about. Nothing against them. I work for PwC. It's more precise, as I note there. You're looking at the financial statements. You're auditing the financial statements. If you're a publicly traded company, you're required, obviously, to have your financial statements certified by an independent firm. You have your CPA assigned, the financial statements, etc. That's what they did. But they are external to the organization, whereas internal audit actually works. Your paycheck, if you're an internal auditor, comes from the same company as everyone else, every employee of the corporation. Whereas if you're external, obviously it comes from the firm that you are representing. Questions? That make sense? Sure. Move on. All right. So as I said, we're going to talk about a few other things. So as I highlighted, internal auditors, what they do, what type of projects do you think they work on? Anyone? And I don't know how we get to Forum Park, but the other folks, they can just speak up.
Yeah, they can speak up. They can unmute on a forum. They can answer.
Inventory.
Mhm.
Like inventory.
Who's gonna take the pen on
It's like, making sure that the assets are actually present and at the value that is listed in the financial statement.
it? What was your name?
Collect.
Steve. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got no clue. I was just about to say like inventory, something that you could, like take note on, like count.
Good. As I said earlier, it's really a lot of the work for internal auditing is, as I said, anything in an organization, think of what an organization does. In any industry, everything that you could think of that a company does from a processing perspective, operation perspective, financial reporting perspective, internal auditors have to and do audit all of that, the whole life cycle of the business. So the short answer is they do everything. Right? So and it really allows you the ability to hone in and you can specialize. In my prior job, I can share with you, I had a team of 20 folks. They were broken down by subject matter expertise. Right? So I had one head who was an expert in credit, I had another one who was an expert in IT, so on and so forth, accounting, and they had their own teams. So they focused on those in those areas and had different credential certifications in those areas. So when you're an internal auditor, an audit department collectively has to have the knowledge to audit the entire organization. Not one person, but the entire department. That's the actual requirement. And so that's why when you look at an audit department, the skill sets that they have on staff, they're pretty varied. As I say, you can be a data analytics person. You can be certified in internal audit specifically, but you can be certified in IT. You can be certified in some other discipline within that business. Right? Again, you could be a credit expert, right? Got credentials and certifications in credit, et cetera. And so depending on the size, the breadth of the organization, if you go to Citibank, Bank of America, some of those folks, bigger banks, they have experts on staff that basically have the same skill sets, same knowledge as their counterparts, whether it's the CFO, the CIO, et cetera, because they're the ones that need to review to provide value to them when they audit and review their operations. Right? So that's, again, the type of work you can do. And again, as an accountant, you have a significant amount of flexibility. I am a CPA, as you saw earlier. I am a CIA. I got my bachelor's in accounting. Did I ever book a journal entry in my career? Only for about 12 months. Right? So you can do a lot. There's a lot of flexibility in this, in the accounting profession. So, accounting is very, very flexible, very broad. I wouldn't say generalistic, right? That's not the term I use for that, but it allows, because if you don't become a CPA, that's a significant credential. That opens a lot of doors for you. But even with that, I never signed this, a financial statement as a CPA. I could open a business, put up my name and a shingle, as they say, and do that. And so having the CPA and the license is something incremental to that. And again, a lot of options. Let's move on. I answered this, so let's see who was paying attention. So do you think entities are required to have an internal audit function? I want to hear from Forum. Where are you guys? I can't see them there.
This should be in
I think we're just screen sharing, yeah.
Forum.
Anybody?
Come on, Forum. Get a Dunkin's gift card. I wouldn't pass that up.
I'll personally deliver.
I would say yes. They have to have an audit committee, because that's who that external auditor has.
You're right, 100% right. In certain circumstances, the most common is they're listed in this stock exchange, they're required by law. And there's many other regulations in industries that do require an audit committee, that do require internal audit functions, but not all. So the broad answer is no, not all are required. They're very, certainly, there are industries and certain listed companies obviously need to have an audit function and need to have an audit committee, et cetera. So most industries that I've worked in, companies I've worked for, all had a requirement to have an audit department and an audit committee. But it's not required, broad-based, it shouldn't be actually, but it's not. So if you think about any profession that is required to have auditors on staff, that's job security in a way, right? A lot of investors appreciate the fact that they have some independent party looking over the operations, looking over financial statements that they're relying on and safeguarding their investment in a way. And so does the board. The board has a lot of liability for any organization to ensure that, again, for the same reasons, that they have an independent party internally that do beyond the financial statements. So the boards have basically the external auditors that give them the comfort on the financial statements. They also have the internal audit function that provides insights, these controls, into the risk management of the organization to ensure that no undue risk is occurring and it's in line with their risk appetite. The boards have the full fiduciary responsibility to manage these organizations. When they don't, bad things happen, and they are personally liable if these bad things happen. So boards are really keen on ensuring that they have a strong audit function internally to ensure that they can rely on them. They're getting really, timely, relevant, and value-add information for them to be able to apply and govern these organizations. Make sense? All right, moving on. The answer to this one. This is an easy one.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
An easy one, right? This is just a sample of many certification. As I said, it's one of those industries, and being in a department, you will have the opportunity to specialize, especially the bigger the organization, more specialization will be required. And depending what that is, you'll have a certification available to you that best serves those needs, right? And skill sets and your interests, right? So this is just a small example of that. Many of these are by the IIA. Some of these are by the IACPA, which is the American Institute of CPAs, national organization for them. So I belong to both as well. Right. Again, there's tests. CPA exam, very difficult exam. Anybody plan to take that exam?
I do.
There you go. So the only advice that anyone can give you is take it as soon as you're ready. And that way. And it's much easier now, I can understand. When I was your age, makes me sound older. I was in your age. You had to pass 4 parts, it's 4.5 days, and you had to pass. You had to take all 4 parts and you had to pass them all with at least 50, otherwise you get no credit, right? Some ridiculous thing. Now I understand you can take 1 part at a time, right? Yeah.
Crazy.
Skill sets, I touched on this a little bit, but let's hone in because I think this is where you'll get an appreciation how vast it is. And a lot of people are surprised by the next page. So thoughts? What's your name again? Sorry.
Damien,
Damien.
yeah, I mean, you just said, fast pace, you know, I guess would be communication. I mean, different like little skills like that. I can't think of like something big than auditing that you would have to know.
You're exactly right. I would substitute little for soft skills. So you'll notice exactly that, soft skills, right? So the soft skills, it's not what you think. So when you think about an accountant, you think about debits and credits, a lot of technical type thing. Certainly in the early classes you took, and I can tell you the story. My wife began as in accounting. She had interest in accounting, and after accounting 2 or 1, she said, "Absolutely not. This is so rigid for me." She's a teacher now. But in reality, certainly for me as an internal auditor for 30 plus years, these are the skills that I leveraged, that I have been able to master and hone over my career, and the skills that I value when I interview folks for positions. Because as an internal auditor, you're a partner to management, but you're there in essence to provide value, but you need to demonstrate, be able to articulate why is the recommendation you put in front of them something they should consider. So you have to be able to communicate, you need to be able to convince them, you know, some negotiation skills. A lot of that is so those are key soft skills. And those soft skills, as I note on the side there, those translate to any function, any business function, actually anything in life, really. So these skills are what most folks don't realize that are important early on. We're not talking about 5, 10, 20 years into your career. We're talking about early on in your career in internal audit or any career. These are the skills you really need to focus on, be comfortable, be able to persuade folks in your argument, be comfortable in front of groups, because as an auditor, you're going to be presenting to management. And sometimes they are going to be open to your views. A lot of times they're not. Right? So it's a way, you need to be able to get through that and really have strong articulation, strong verbal skills, and build that relationship to a point where you can, make that a productive conversation with these folks. And that's any job, right? Really, right? So those are the key skills, and there's many, many others. All right. So I wanted to spend a few minutes again, as I said earlier, network. So there's a few things here so the chapter, we're really emphasizing this. It's networking and the opportunity to really reach out. We have many opportunities, and not to compare, I won't compare, but I was recently at a job fair at another university, and they had 800 people show up, students. And the lines, just to speak to us, to folks like myself, to really gauge what the industry workforce, where things stood today, how do you get connected, right? And to me, the most critical thing about this is it's about the network. As I said a long time ago, networking for us was very different. Us being folks my age, we didn't have LinkedIn, we didn't have we didn't have email, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have a lot of things that today is clearly different. But you need to be able to use those tools in a way that's productive and meaningful, because the reality is
it's easy to get lost in virtual. Right? And so folks get a lot of email, they get a lot of stuff comes your way. So you need to be able to stand out in the new way. Right? The best way to do it is still face to face. So we have an opportunity. You have an opportunity. We have one of our biggest events coming up. It's free for students. So this is, again, our way to say we understand that clearly the profession is in need of accountants, and this is our outreach. It's, there's two, and I'll get into the second one, but this one is from the Institute of Internal Auditors. As I said, I'm on the board of this chapter. We have one of our major events. It's in person, right? There's a QR code there. Scan it. It takes you to the registration page. It's free for all students. There's an actual student track that we developed purely for students. There's several topics. You see it there. There's a free lunch. Did I mention that? And there's a lot of free goodies. So there's also an expo, which means there's dozens of firms that will be there from various industries. And they will be there in person. They have their booths. Most of these folks, the way we arrange it is that they're members. They pay sponsorship. And if they're an exhibitor, meaning they have a table, they also present and they're a speaker at the expo. So it's a full day exercise. We also have a separate track for chief audit executives. So you'll have very senior folks in the industry there. I'll be leading part of that event or that session as well. So again, no better way than to connect than to be in person if your schedule allows. By all means. So I have some printouts here. If you want to, so everyone took a shot of this. I'm happy to send that to you if you need it. Okay. And then I wanted to just again give you an idea of the breadth and the size of the IIA. These slides are directly from the Institute of Internal Auditors, the National Association. So the number, I'm not going to read them to you, but I'll just start at the top. 245,000 members worldwide. It's a massive organization. And when you travel, there's many perks from an audit function perspective. If you work for multi location or even a conglomerate global organization, you're going to have most likely the opportunity to travel. So when I was young, I traveled to many places, and that's how you really get to experience different business cultures and visit nice places too, hopefully. When you visit these countries, you actually realize that you can always reach these resources in that country. Because as you can see, that in 97 countries that have chapters that are tied to. So as a member, you have access to all of these folks globally. And so travel to basically any country in the world, you can reach out to these folks locally. And that's what we did. Oftentimes, especially if you're a US-based company and you're traveling to, Hong Kong, you want to reach out to your firm colleagues there. And if you don't, you reach out to these organizations locally because how they do business and some things are very different. And this is the quickest way to assimilate and really understand local culture and how things operate in that country. What are the risks, those types of geopolitical, those types of things. This is, again, a resource, right? So, just so that you're fully aware. The green slide. I love the green slide. Right. So 80,000 isn't too bad, right? Now that's the number, that's US. So it's an average. That's not a number in New York City. Much higher than that. Yeah, again, not that in New York City, my admin made more than that. Just to give you a perspective. So the reality is it's in high demand. It's a profession that, again, has a significant career path to many of the other functions in the organization. If you want to be a CFO, internal audit is seen as a springboard into many other positions in any organization. In fact, they prefer auditors because, as they say, once you go through audit, you have a very diverse background and you're control-minded. And so they want that. It's a significant skill sets to have, whether you become a CFO, head of HR, COO, CIO, go down the list of folks. So I made a note there in green just to give you an idea again, because you are the tri-state area. These are national numbers that came out of one of the surveys that the institute did. These are big numbers, guys. But New York City is 40% more. Right? So, and that's the bigger number. Anyone? Does this surprise anybody?
From 40,000, from the 80,000 that you showed me, it being 40% higher is kind of, I didn't think that, yeah.
Very surprising.
All right. Spoke about that. So I won't get into that, but again, I think DIA gives you a lot. And for students, a lot for free, so that's even better. And so it's a membership that you can leverage. You have access to all of the members, and I strongly urge you to join. As I said, no member will ever turn away a student. I'm also a mentor for several folks, and they reach out to me. I don't say no. So, questions?
Anybody have any questions for Metro virtually? I actually have a question. I know we do talk about, CPA exam, but can you talk a little bit about the IIA exam and how that works? And like, what's like how many parts of the exam is, like your experience of like taking the IIA exam?
The IA, so CPA exam, what we talked about, you guys are familiar with that. The CIA exam is, I would say, slightly easier. Doesn't require 150 credits for fun. And it's got the same, it's 4 parts, I believe. It's been a while since I've done mine, but again, the CIA exam, if I had to prioritize, right, you guys are accounting, right? Everyone here is an accounting. Finance. The CPA is, I would say, the certification you want to pursue out of school. CIA is more of a specialization, right? That's when you've already decided, if I'm an internal audit, think it's a career path possibility that you pursue the CIA exam. Most companies will reimburse you for those as well, so it makes sense to do that. Now there's a lot of practical stuff in the CIA exam, so you would have to read. Someone like me, you're in the workforce for 2 years and then taking the exam, you most likely done everything that's in that exam. CPA is more textbook. So if you're an accounting major, done through your schooling, a lot of that is in the textbook, right? So there's a slight difference in the approach, I would think, at least from my experience. So if I had to prioritize CPA first, CIA after, CIA is more of a practical exam, then the CPA would just entirely textbook, almost textbook. Makes sense?
Yeah, I have one question. I had a question, so when we were mentioning the networking. So obviously, like I said, I'm not an accounting major, but I am finance. I wanted to know because you know how specific you showed that picture in the QR code of the event. That's pretty much like, okay, that's my opportunity to network, right? So, I mean, I want to get into investment banking. So what I'm trying to say is like, how can I like try to find out like different opportunities? Like I want to put myself in a position where I can network. I think that's the only part. It's like, so once the opportunity does present itself, I jump right on it. But the main thing is like getting to that point for me.
Yeah, exactly. So I think to be able to, presumably, right, every school has your career fairs, you have your support teams here that support you through that. I've seen it at every school, and I'm not familiar with FDU, but I assume they have the same thing. They're the ones that will open the doors and make those introductions, right? So as a student, you should leverage that to the max and then be able to attend these events. As I said, simply attending that event that I mentioned in my slides, you're going to be exposed to, dozens of, local companies
they're there for a purpose. They paid a lot of money to be there. And they want to engage with their membership. They want to engage and they're definitely, looking for talent. And so that's your opportunity to be very, very prepared and very ready to hand them a resume if the opportunity is there. Most of them, as I said, if it's a career fair, you should never miss those. I mean, those are, as I said, I've been to a couple of this. Some of them are wildly successful. 800 people, the lines are, every table had a line, it was insane. Then I had a couple where, everyone's there like myself, just with their hands in their pocket. All these sponsors showed up and you didn't have, it was not a good turnout. I didn't understand why. And a lot of it is, the organization, the organizer didn't maybe market it as well, or just bad timing of the day, that kind of thing. But, the opportunities are there for you to do that. If all that fails, I would say you have other avenues. Your network of alumni is there, and you can see them there on LinkedIn, et cetera. That's probably the quickest way to do that is, even absent any of that, whether you're interested in part-time jobs or for the summer internships, those type of things. Oftentimes, it's going on those sites, reaching out, and people are happy to return, a communication from their alma mater. I know I am.
Thank you.
Professor, would you like that?
No, I agree with what you said. I'm a CPA myself and worked in industry and public accounting many years when I came to academia. 47.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do, right? But again, the opportunities are certainly there, so.
I think we have a question coming on Zoom, I think,
Perfect.
Joe, unmute.
Yep. Are there any emerging skills or tools that you suggest students to start learning now?
Emergent skills or tools. Yeah, that's interesting because you're absolutely right. One of the things that is ever changing is what's required today. And 4 years of a college cycle, as quick 4 years go by, skill sets change. So you need to be, really cognizant and aligned with, what is going on in the market. And a lot of the skill sets, especially in the audit function, are really evolving very rapidly. If you talk about AI, but what does it really mean in an organization? Talk about data analytics, that's a significant skill set. What does it mean in your organization? Well, it all depends the type of organization, the maturity level. The firm I was at, all of this was interesting. But until you're ready as an organization to adopt AI or adopt, doing things in a mechanical to a bot, we were developing bots. But it's all dependent on the technology. It's all dependent on, the investment and the resources that the company is willing to put forward. But for you to differentiate yourself, you want to think about that. Going to these events, the one I mentioned, we'll talk about all of these. What is relevant today? What's relevant? What we think will be relevant in the next 12 months from an accounting and auditing perspective. We'll talk about AI. We'll talk about cybersecurity. We'll talk about all the sexy terms that you guys hear these days. And again, these are all real specialized skill sets. So unless you're absolutely, for you to really think about AI, you have to really be probably a data scientist. But you really need to get into and get degrees that are, sort of leading edge degrees if you're going to break into that field. But the reality is there aren't many of them. So everyone's going through the same realization. Say, well, I have my bachelor's and you can pursue something like that as a master's or a PhD, right? Because, everything is evolving very, very quickly. They talk about accountants will be, thing of the past. Auditors will be replaced by AI. I don't believe that. Certainly a lot of things will be, but like anything else, people will evolve to do elements of the process, right? Of the chain, of the business, right? Things will be made more efficient for sure, the technology. And so that's the benefit of going to these events. I think you'll get real insights from these data scientists and these experts that actually do this for a living. And they will give you their views where they are. You'll see what firms they work for, how they kind of engage with their clients, right? So you get an incredible amount of benefits. I know it's a long way to answer your question, Joe. Hopefully that did.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
You were talking about AI possibly replacing accountants, and I was recently watching the movie I, Robot, and I was wondering how could artificial intelligence audit companies when they can be, I mean, computer programs can be manipulated to break the law. So, like, how could that possibly ever happen?
It depends what part of the equation we're talking about. Any task that's replaced by either learning AI. I think but there will be elements of judgment, right? So that not every model will be developed in a way that will capture every single scenario that you can make. And like anything else, any scenario that you can think of at that point in time will change tomorrow. And so there'll be a constant need to update that. Scenarios and model, even the inputs in some of these things that will massively be leveraged by AI or developed at some point and need some human input and validation, because AI, while some things will be self-learning, it's basic things, right? Today, you can teach, through AI a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that we haven't even put down on paper, and so you won't be an input into a model, right? So we see that, because the unique thing about internal audit, certainly in my career, most audits are different. From one audit to the next, and year to year, there's always a nuance, material nuance, in how we do it, the judgment we employ in the audit, the approach, the scope, the time, the breadth, right? So every variable changes, how you go about that engagement. So to replicate that into AI or machine language, or certain elements can certainly be done, because certain things are more monotonous, repetitive, and journal entries really occur every month, right? So those things and you can test that, you can manage that in a way that you don't need a lot of human interaction. But somewhere, some exception reporting or red flags or things will kick out, and someone has to look at it and say, should I be concerned or not? Right? Does this make sense or not? Right? So I think there's a huge opportunity to leverage a lot of the technology in not only our profession, but any profession these days, right? And AI is clearly something that will be with us forever.
Yeah. Any other questions? Do you have any questions at floor?
I have a question, Jack.
Yeah.
So after 13 years at Israel Discount Banking, what made you decide to start your own firm, Mario?
Great question. So after 13 years, it's like they say in the industry, the average chief auditor, I think the average is 4 to 5 years. So I beat the averages, as they say. But again, it was a personal decision to move on. I'm at a point in my career where my kids are off to college, and I wanted more balance. Hour and a half commute is a big element to that decision. Every day into the city is tough. So it's very regulated environment as well. So, for me, I wanted to do something different that gave me more flexibility and I'll certainly more balance in my life. And, I want to try this thing called pickleball. That's real dance. But I enjoy the consulting work, allows me to be engaged and to impart a lot of the experience that I've been able to garner over the last 3 decades plus. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
No other question?
I just want one question. I know that you mentioned that you worked at one of the big four, PwC, I think you said. Like, how is it working over there versus like where you are now?
It's very different, obviously, mindsets, but again, external auditing, as I said, big firms also offer you significant amount of opportunities. The one positive about that I took away, and for me, it's I think everyone would typically say that, you know, big four, even regional firms. It's having that name on your resume is worth a lot. Also, having the opportunity and the experience is worth a lot. I can share with you, I guess I can say this, you know, going back now to 2 decades. 2 decades, you know, working PwC, you're being built out as someone with I would say, very limited experience. You're being built out clients because they expect you to really become an expert at something very quickly, right? So, you know, there's that pressure to progress, which is good. When you're young and you have a hunger to progress, you want a firm that actually fosters that, right? Now, if you're young and you don't have that hunger, it's going to be challenging for you in a firm like that. And so it's not uncommon, and certainly wasn't for me to work 80, 100 hours a week in that environment, but that was okay because I was exposed to, you know, one day I was counting cattle in Wichita, Kansas. The next day I was auditing waste management in Brooklyn. The next day I was in Alabama, you know, reviewing a mining company. So the vast variety of experiences, there's no other way you can get and you can do that with 2, 3, 4 years out of school. So it's a massive accelerator in your career because of the opportunities. It's not easy. It's not for everyone, right? But so that as I said, as much as I didn't enjoy my time there, I'll say it out loud for those reasons. But you know, what you take away stays with you, and most of it takes time for you to realize how positive it was. At the time, didn't feel so positive, perhaps. But yeah, it's certainly something that you should consider. Your experience could be very different, but you have, you know, significant upside and opportunity in those firms.
A final question before I ask the last.
This is more from a technical perspective. We talked about data analytics and artificial intelligence. The internal audit department will, you know, test the internal controls related to those departments. But from a functional perspective, the data analytics and AI, in which function does it reside within a company? Let's say it's a mature company and it uses a lot of data science, data analytics, and AI. Is it part of the CIO's office or they have their own? Do you know any?
Yeah, I've seen a few. So because it's so new in a lot of ways, a lot of sensor defense. In the audit, or in the audit division, the answer is easier because it sits within the audit. We have auditors that have those skill sets. On the business side, most often I see the IT organization. I also see it under the COO, Chief Operating Officer. Depends what you're attempting to do. But because it's so new and it's very technology heavy, especially on the AI or the bots or, you know, the data analytics, oftentimes it starts in the IT organization. And then once it gets mature and they have certain things, they have ring fence controls and you know, things are in a controlled environment, then they typically would move it out to a COO organization. It's more of a BAU, business as usual type of activity, but some of the continual development stays in the IT organization. So typically that's how I've seen it. But it depends on the organization and maturity level. You know, it's ever changing for sure. Yes, that's all. I'd like to share something else if I may.
Yeah,
absolutely. 5 more minutes. There is the New Jersey Society of CPAs. I want to change this over.
Change tabs?
Or yeah, I need to share something.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, success. I want to very slow.
this way. Open up my. Is it me? Or-
Technology.
Slide.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for nice meeting.
Well, right here.
I'm not sure why it's not showing this slide. I'll install it. Very great. It's an important slide. Anyway, I'll speak to it. So if you scan that, go there. This, so for the New Jersey Society of CPAs, as I said earlier, this is again as the name implies, the state level association society for CPAs. There's the AIA CPA, which is the American Institute. They have a similar program for students. So you can become a student member. If you scan that, they'll take you right into their page, and they will again allow you to register, become a member of the society for free. There's also in here, and you can see I confirms there's a job fair that's coming up. And I believe it was meant to be on this slide. I don't know why it's not showing. My apologies. But again, if you click on that, I believe it takes you, correct? Did it take you there?
It does.
So again, it's a job fair. You see these firms, they'll be there. These are the firms you want to meet with. They also have scholarships. There's a page there that points to a scholarship, and I just printed it out. See on my screen. It's called Accelerating Scholarship in Accounting. That's the event, right? So May 16th, Friday, it's a full day event. Right? That's this QR code. The other one here is for the scholarship. There's a membership one. Right? So there's a membership for students as well. For the New Jersey Society. So wow. Take a picture of that. And then there's a scholarship opportunities. Junior and senior, there's a scholarship available for $6,500. Sophomores is $2,000. So again, these are all resources available to students. Two great organizations. As I said, I volunteer for both. And there's a network, right? Each one of them have, you have access to folks in the industry. They may be working in companies, industries you're really excited about. Reach out to them. As I said, they're not going to turn you away. And most likely there's graduates from your school that are members, and they definitely won't turn you away, right? Yeah, so reach out. That's the way to connect and be engaged, and make sure that they assist you through your career progression. Yes, of course. Okay, as many as you want.
I already got
Alrighty,
it somewhere.
Thank you, Mario, for coming to speak to us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Members, candidates, please stay behind. We have announcements to make. I could just probably bring it up here. All right. So just find myself the announcements. Okay. So I put it on recording. Okay, so for those who will be graduating this semester, if you would like to buy a cord or stole or both, you can. It'll be $15 for a stole, $12 for a cord, and both together is $25. If you would like to purchase one, please Venmo that to us at BAP at FDU on Venmo. Again, really right there, $15, $12, $25 together, just for the handle. Right there. Just stating what you bought. Once you do send us the money, you're able to pick it up. I believe on the Ford campus, it will be in Donna Hilsinger's office. Dr. Collier, do you know where if any of our members or candidates in Metro are graduating, are they able to pick them up? You know?
They can go to Donna on our campus, and definitely on in Metro, we usually have it just in the dean's office. But I would like to ask, I have had two people put by recently, but they haven't told me which campus they're at. So if people could just email me as to which campus, I'll make sure I get things to you.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
Mhm.
Okay. That now, so second announcement, the AI in pharmaceutical, management event tomorrow, 6 p.m. in Lenfeld Hall on the Flora campus for any BAP candidate or member who need to make up their attendance. If you are going to be attending that event, we will count that as an attendance makeup event. All you have to do is email us and send us a screenshot of your RSVP, just stating that you did show up. There will be no reflection paper required for that because you will be there in person. And if you would like to go just because you can, again, we just like to offer that for the members of candidates who need to catch up on their requirements. Speaking of that, if you know you need to make up meetings, please make sure you submit your reflection papers on time. Links are always on the discussion board page on Web Campus. And obviously the reflection papers due every week for the next meeting. So please get on top of that, including tutoring as well. I know we have a couple students who are registering for tutoring, so that's great. Please, especially for the candidates, because you need to get them all in before induction night. Thank you to those who replied back to us about interest in eBoard. Thank you so much for that. Third, I believe that, and I think, and the last thing, next week we will have Crum and Foster come speak to us. Speaker will be coming to Metro. So again, if you know of anybody, and it's a finance firm, finally, finance firm. I know we have a lot of finance majors here on the Metro campus, so I'm gonna try to cater to you guys for that. So if you know of anybody who's interested, please come here in person. Dress code be business casual, and then I think we're all good on that, unless if I'm forgetting anything else. Not.
Jack, may I just ask a question?
Yes.
Have we received candidates for, or people wanting to run for each of the 4 positions?
Yes. All
Okay.
4. Yeah. So we're good.
Okay.
That tutoring, the AI event, and I think that's it, I think. Yeah, I think that's all. Oh, and the IIA event, again, we do post on our weekly announcements. So if you would like to, again, we post the link there. If you read today's meeting, scan the QR code. If you want to, it is completely free. Just make sure you use the discount code. And yeah, I think that is all for this week. Again, does anybody have any questions for the e-board, scars, anything? Once, twice, yay. Again, make sure everyone just scan the QR code for attendance. Great. All righty. So with that being said, that is it. Thank you all so much for coming out this week. Next week, Crum and Foster Financial will come speak to us. Same time, same place. Hopefully for form. I know we had a little hiccup today with the rooms. Hopefully next week it'll all be squared away. Okay. All right, thank you. But yeah. All right. So that's everyone. Thank you all so much. And we'll see you all next week. See you guys.
Will I fall again? I'm scared of heights, yet it was me who ran away.